What is going on, guys? It is Drew here with Invest Together, and today is actually Easter, so I wanted to start off by saying Happy Easter to you guys. I'm hoping that you guys do understand the reasoning for the season. I mean, me personally, I would not be the person that I am without the reasoning of why we celebrate Easter, which is that Jesus died on the cross for our sins and resurrected on Easter Sunday. So I did want to start off by saying Happy Easter to you guys, and then without further ado, I am going to be jumping into a video on my research on a company called Kubient. Now, I originally was recommended this company by a buddy of mine named Will. He said that they were a very sound company that had a great niche inside of the overall market of advertising. Now, before I go too deep into the video, I do want to make a couple announcements. The first one is that if you guys are interested in kind of seeing what it looks like behind the scenes of what me and my partners do, we do have a public Discord that is available for anybody to join. It does not cost any money to be a part of the Discord. Now, if you want like alerts on buy and sell and everything like that, that's a different story. But it is an open Discord of where people come in to learn about stocks and learn about the market in general and just learn what we're doing behind the scenes. So that is an option for you guys. I'll put the link down below if you guys are interested in that. The second thing that I did want to go over is not really go over, but I do have to say at the beginning of every single video is that I am not a financial advisor. So take that for what it is. I am not offering legal advice. I am just simply putting my information out there. Potentially you guys can use it as a form of your guys' research, but again, do your own research on stocks and make sure that you guys actually do visit an actual financial advisor if you guys are looking for that help, because I am not that. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the video on Kubient, again, a technology company specializing in the market of advertising. So one of the first things that I like to do when I look into a company is obviously visit their website just to make sure that what their statement is matches what I've heard about the company, as well as matches what I want to put my money into. Now, usually the things that I have confidence in is things that have niches in certain markets, as well as things that are future-proof. So things that will be there for a while and will be there to stay and have a lot of room to grow. And Kubient matches all of those things. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look right into the company info and kind of look at their overview that they have as a company and their message of what they are trying to do. So company profile, Kubient is a technology company with a mission to transform the digital advertising industry to audience-based marketing. Kubient's next generation cloud-based infrastructure enables efficient marketplace liquidity for buyers and sellers of digital advertising. The Kubient Audience Cloud is a flexible open marketplace for advertisers and publishers to reach, monetize, and connect their audiences. A transparent programmatic environment with proprietary artificial intelligence powered pre-bid, ad fraud, tongue twister, and proprietary RTB marketplace automation for the digital out-of-home industry. Basically, what they're doing is they are a all-in-one package of anything to do with advertising, as well as help a lot with ad fraud, which is a very big issue, which we will kind of get into a little bit deeper as the video goes on. So that's basically what they do. That's kind of their message to all investors, as well as anybody that's just looking at the company as a consumer or just anybody that's interested in the company in general. So that's what they do. Big time into marketing and advertising, as well as that ad fraud, which we'll get into later. So now that we understand the basics of what the company does, it's also very important to understand what the leadership team is like in order to further know what their vision is for the company. So I'm basically going to go through a couple of these names and explain a few things that I like about them, what they bring to the table, and kind of how they all collide to create what Kubient is and what Kubient is becoming. So starting with Paul Roberts, he is the CEO of Kubient. And a few things that I like is just his ability to communicate as a whole, but also his experience in developing some of these smaller businesses into growing and successful businesses as a whole. Another thing that I really like to see, aside from those smaller businesses into bigger businesses, is the fact that he did work for a big company and a household name. Obviously, that is Yahoo. That is one of the companies that he worked for, and just seeing that on his resume gives me a lot of confidence because he's been there and he's seen what it's like, and he can see how this specific technology can affect the places that he was working in before. So I really like that about him. Joshua Weiss is actually, they were friends. Him and Paul Roberts were friends for quite some time and have been working alongside each other for a while. But he is the chief financial officer. Not too many crazy things stand out about Weiss himself, but obviously he just does his job very well. Considering the balance sheets that they've had in the past, he does a good job of managing their money. He's also done a very good job of managing money in the past. If you go to his LinkedIn, you'll be able to see the phenomenal jobs that he's done with different companies that he worked for. So overall, just a solid guy there. Not a big name or anything like that, nothing special really, but he does his job well, and that's all you need. Another guy that I really like, obviously, when you have a company that's surrounded by technology, it's very important that you have a good CTO, which is a Chief Technology Officer. Okay, Pavel is doing a phenomenal job at Kubient, developing new technology, always being on top of his game, as well as developing his teams to further and expand and grow inside the industry that they are working in. Those three people kind of all collide into each other, as well as their board of directors, which I'm not going to cover today, but the board of directors is very solid in keeping a direction for the company and making sure that they are heading the right direction, or again, heading the right direction in developing their company into something special, into something that can continue to grow and continue to bring more revenues, which is what us as investors really are looking for. So they all three do a good job alongside the board of directors, and that is one thing that I really like about the company. Another thing that I really like to look at when I'm investing into a company is the amount of institutional ownership that they have. Institutional ownership to me means that I am following big money. Now, if you've ever heard that phrase, follow big money, that is a very, very big thing to do, because they usually might know something or they have a lot of faith into a company, and where there's a lot of money there has to be a lot of trust into that company. So when I see big companies investing into a company like Kubient, which is relatively small in its sector, I have a lot of faith. So with this specific company itself, there's four main names of investments or firms that have invested their money into the company. Those four include Citadel, Goldman, Vanguard, as well as Citigroup. Those four I really like, and they have been a part of some of the investments that I've done in the past. Again, big money, follow big money. I tend to do that a lot whenever I'm looking for my investments because I have faith in these bigger firms that have a lot more money than me. They know what they're doing. And again, that just affirms the feelings that I've had about the company in the past. When I look at that overall institutional ownership, and I'm already looking at this company thinking like I do like the niche that it has inside the market that it has. And then on top of that, I see some of these other big firms that are investing into the company. That does kind of confirm what I've been feeling in that overall gut feeling that I had about the company in general. Now, because we're looking at a company that basically does anything and everything to do with advertising and helps with ad fraud a lot, it would probably be important to know what ad fraud even is. For me, I didn't really understand it, but the more and more that I look at it, the more I see how prevalent it is in the internet and the overall web that we use. So the dictionary definition of ad fraud is any attempt to defraud digital advertising networks for financial gain. Scammers can often use bots to carry that out, but not always. There are a number of methods that scammers can use to trick advertisers and ad networks into paying them. Now, basically, there are two basic different ways of ad fraud, if you will. The first one is hidden ads, which is pretty self-explanatory. When an ad is shown in such a way that the user does not actually see it, this kind of fraud targets ad networks that pay based on impressions, views, not clicks. So basically what that means is, like, let's just say that you're scrolling through Facebook and you have no idea that an ad is even there, or it's just playing in the background or whatever, and you don't see it, but they're getting paid for it anyway. Or let's say that you see those ads, right, that have, it's like a pop-up ad, and you go to click on the X, it's on the actual ad instead of the X is at the top right, and it makes you go to the advertisement anyway. So those would be examples of like fraud or like hidden ads or things like that. Now, click hijacking is another one. This is a little bit more, dangerous or illegal, I guess. This is when an attacker redirects a click on one ad to be a click for a different ad, effectively stealing the click. For this fraud attack to work, the attacker has to compromise the user's computer, the ad publisher's website, or a proxy server. So this is another way that they kind of basically steal that ad revenue from people, is that because you click on their screen or you click on the ad, it redirects to a different website. Commonly you'll see an ad and you'll click on it, and then it'll bring you to some random website that you had no intention on clicking on, and therefore you give them the revenue instead of who you were actually trying to click on the ad for. So those are basic ways of kind of how ad fraud is, and the reasoning why Kubient is so good at what they do. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. The reasoning why Kubient is so good at what they do is because of the overall consistency and speed at what they do everything in. And that is my dog jumping on my bed. So that's the basic of what ad fraud is. Last thing that I wanted to discuss when talking about Kubient and kind of go over was their last earnings report that was reported on March 25th, so relatively recently. In that earnings report, they announced that they had over 400% in revenue increase from $280,000 to $1.1 million, as stated right here. Their expenses as a whole kind of stay the same, basically like just a small like $10,000 increase. But there was a big general and administrative increase as far as their expenses goes, because they had to pay off their old CEO in order for their new one to be brought on, and that was like an increase of about $1.5 million. But again, that was due to kind of that occurrence happening. So I do like the progress that they're seeing, as well as their vision for moving forward, as well as their marketing for moving forward and gathering a lot more consumers to use their product or to use their technology. A lot of companies to use their technology. A lot of people are starting to hop on board, as well as we see those bigger investors kind of coming in to the picture. That shows a lot about a company, and it shows a lot about a company's future as well as their vision moving forward. So I do really like that about Kubient specifically. Their earnings reports exceeded all expectations, and then again, the main reason why they said that it exceeded expectations to the degree that it did was because of COVID and the amount of internet usage that was done during COVID times. So again, finding a sector that COVID does not affect, in fact, actually helps, which sounds weird to say, but it actually does help them significantly because so many more people are on the internet. Kubient did a great job on their earnings report. Their financial reports are solid. And on top of all of that, we are in a growing and expanding industry, which means that we can continue to get our foot into the door and continue to acquire more of that revenue coming from the ad fraud industry. To recap today's video, there are 4 main reasons why I have already started a position and will continue to grow my position inside of Kubient. The first of which is the overall leadership of the company, as well as the vision that they have for the company. I do really like the leadership team that they've had and how well they work together to kind of accomplish the goals that they have set as a company, as well as, again, their vision moving forward and how they're going to continue to enter into the industry that they have already entered. The second of which is the overall institutional ownership that they have. 10% is very high, and I love following big money, as I said earlier, so that's the second big reason why I like Kubient as a whole and as a company. The third of which is their overall niche inside of the market that they had, as well as the patent pending technology that they have that gives them an advantage over the competition that they have inside of the industry of ad fraud. The fourth and last thing that I do really like is the overall earnings report and their financials and everything that they have done in the past years and how their revenue has been growing at a constant rate, with 400% being the last revenue growth period that they had, which is just phenomenal. And I do really like seeing growing companies. It gives me a lot of confidence moving forward, just about what the company is doing, and again, their vision as a company to continue to proceed and reach some of those goals that they have already set. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, as well as got a better understanding of what Kubient is like and what they do in the ad fraud industry as a whole. If you guys did enjoy the content, feel free to click that like button or even click that subscribe button if you want to continue watching my content going forward. Again, this has been Drew with Invest Together, and I am out. Peace.